So welcome to the UbiOps Monthly of July 2021. On the agenda for today is a quick update on the events of the last month, some upcoming features we'll be releasing quite soon, and tackling some common pitfalls in UbiOps, as well as the outlook for the coming 4 weeks in terms of publications. And we, of course, have some room for questions and discussion. So for the last month's events, we had two things we wanted to highlight. We had a webinar with BOM Energy Systems. If you haven't seen it, you can watch the recording on our website if you go to events on the website. And it was about how they use artificial intelligence to optimize energy usage, and especially for monitoring buildings. And they use UbiOps in their architecture, so it can be quite interesting to see how someone else actually uses UbiOps in their architecture. And what kind of concerns they had when starting with it. And something else we did was we had the fundamentals training with Ordina. This is a training where we cover all the fundamentals of UbiOps. Just so you have a solid foundation in working with UbiOps. If anyone who is watching is also interested in this, we do this more often. So if you would want to follow a training as well, please get in touch with us, drop us an email, and we can schedule something. Then in terms of upcoming features, there is a very big one coming, which is the introduction of express and batch deployment modes. Right now, we don't have deployment modes, and you just have a deployment, and this deployment right now has a maximum timeout of 1 hour. We thought that this was quite limiting. So to open up the possibility for more and different kinds of deployments and jobs you can run on UbiOps, we have now introduced this split of express and batch deployment modes. With this batch deployment mode, it will be possible to have requests that take up to 48 hours to process, as opposed to the current limit of 1 hour. So this would open up the possibility of also putting training jobs on UbiOps, for instance, which often take a few hours to run, and also heavy optimization algorithms. For instance, for things like grid searches or so, they are often quite time consuming. So with the new batch deployment mode, you can put that on UbiOps right now. More information will follow when we actually release this on the 20th of July. But this is the main takeaway of what it will open up. Then something else we're busy working on is an add-on for Google Sheets. We know a lot of our users like to use Google Sheets for simple data manipulation, and we thought it would be nice to be able to power up your Google Sheet by putting UbiOps behind it, so that you have the possibility to send requests to a deployment directly from a cell in your Google Sheet, and that you can take input from multiple sheets in there. So you can basically power up the analytics you can do with your Google Sheets. So this will also be coming soon. That's a short highlight on some upcoming features. As said, the new release will be on the 20th. So a release email will be coming your way then with a full overview of everything that we have released. Then I shortly wanted to touch upon tackling some common pitfalls when working with UbiOps. Learning any new tool always comes with its challenges, and even though we try to make it as easy as possible to work with UbiOps, of course you will have to debug your deployments every once in a while. This is just part of it. And there are some small tricks to overcome some common pitfalls when creating a new deployment primarily. And one that I want to touch upon is the possibility to use a run-deployment.py or a run-deployment.r if you're working with R. You can find this on our GitHub. So if you go to our GitHub and then to the deployment template, here you can find the deployment templates, but in that deployment template, you will also find this file, a run-deployment.py. And this file allows you to simulate what UbiOps will do with your deployment locally, so that you can debug it already before you push it to UbiOps, so that you don't have to continuously wait for your deployment to be built and then only to find out there's an error, have to fix the error, build again. that cycle can get quite lengthy. So it's handy to already do this before pushing to UbiOps so that you can filter out small mistakes in the script. I can also show you how this works. So this is just my IDE. This is Visual Studio Code. And I have here a deployment package. It's just a dummy package, nothing special. It multiplies the input number with a random number of a range between 1 and 100, and it just returns that. So nothing too special in this deployment.py, just to simulate how it will work. So with that run deployment.py, I can use or call upon this deployment.py as if I am UbiOps. So here where it says dummy package, everywhere it says that, that needs to be the name of the folder where you have your package. So for me, that's dummy package, but maybe for you, it's called deployment package. Then you have to change all these instances to that. But this is also explained in the file itself, where you have to adjust it so that it can run your deployment.py. The other part is the input data. So you have to pass or create some sample input data that your deployment should be able to take. And then you can create a request to it as if, yeah, you're working with UbiOps. So say, for instance, I have made a mistake in how I call my input field, which tends to happen quite often. Then if I call this file, it will give me an error probably, but you guys are in front of it for me. Oh, I forgot to save it. There we go. So if I do this now with the error in there, I'll also get this error right here, which otherwise it would have only gotten when I've actually deployed it to UbiOps, and that can be quite annoying. So right now I already see like, there's a mistake here. It needs to be called like that. And then if I fix that and do it again, now we'll be able to run and we'll give that back. Now, another common issue when deploying is what kind of requirements, like the dependencies of your deployment. Sometimes you miss one. In order to avoid this, what I like to do is work with a virtual environment when I'm developing a new deployment for UbiOps. One way to do that is like this, -m virtual environment dot virtual environment. If I do that, a new virtual environment folder will be created up here. It needs to process a while before it comes up here. Yeah, so now it's done. And I can activate that virtual environment. So this will be a completely clean environment that doesn't have anything pre-installed that I already have in my computer. So to activate that, I need to go into the script/activate. And if I do that, it will also pop up here showing that I'm now working in this virtual environment. And let's say in my deployment, I make use, I have the image of you guys in front of it. I'm going to hide you for a second. Yeah. So let's say in my deployment.py, I make use of some Python library that isn't already readily available. So say NumPy. So I'm working with NumPy, I'm importing it in my deployment.py, and I make some kind of array with it. What I'm doing here doesn't really matter. It's just to showcase, like if you have, if you're working with other Python packages in your deployment.py, which is happening here. Now, if I will try to do the run deployment.py again, so this one, it will give me an error that there's no module named NumPy. This would be the same error you would get in UbiOps if you haven't included it in your requirements.txt, because it's not installed in your environment. So we need to install that. So install NumPy to make it run locally. And once that's done installing, because it's installed in a virtual environment, we can export the requirements.txt from the virtual environment and put that into the deployment package so that it has everything we need to actually run this deployment. So I can do that right now with something called pip freeze. And if I do that to a requirements.txt, then a new requirements.txt will be created. which contains the dependencies that my deployment package needs. So I can move this one, or I can put this in the requirements.txt of my package. And then I know that my requirements.txt have the stuff covered that my deployment will need to run. So that helps to take care of that. And it's a very basic and simple workflow, and maybe you already know this, but I find it very helpful when working with UbiOps and when creating new deployments to always do this verification check first, just to start with a clean virtual environment, test out my requirements there, and check if I have everything that I need in my requirements.txt to make my deployment run. Something else I also quickly wanted to notify you about is that we are working on a cheat sheet for UbiOps with some common things that you will have to use quite often, but that are easy to forget, like how to load in an environment variable, for instance, in your deployment.py. We will release this next week, so this is coming your way to hopefully make it easier to work with UbiOps. Okay. So that's it for some quick common pitfalls. And then lastly, we have the outlook of the coming 4 weeks. So as I mentioned already earlier, 20th of July is the next release to release these new features with primarily the introduction of the Express and the batch deployment so that you can also have longer running requests. Also, we will publish a new use case with Tableau and UbiOps together. It's about a Twitter sentiment analysis on the hashtag MLOps, and it shows you how you can actually run advanced machine learning behind Tableau. So if you're a BI specialist and you're working a lot with Tableau and you want to make it more advanced what's running behind Tableau, keep an eye out for that, and maybe it can give you some inspiration. And we will also soon publish another use case with Mendix together with Clevr. If you have seen our face recognition app, how we built that with Mendix, it will be quite similar to that. It's a new walkthrough of how you can use Mendix together with UbiOps so that you can have machine learning or advanced data science behind a low-code app like Mendix. And that's it for what I wanted to share with you today. So if there are any questions, I will be happy to answer them.